back when this issue came out, I had it. I had a subscription to 5.0 Mustang magazine, and this was an article and a cover story about the Mach 1 versus the Bullet, and it also included the 99 Cobra. And I thought it was such a cool issue, and then when I bought my Mach 1, I made sure to buy that magazine over again off eBay, and then I was able to get the blue bullet, and I didn't know at the time, but it was a blue bullet they used in this. So it was pretty cool. And one thing they did in this test against the three was they ran them, and the Mach 1 performed the best, the quarter-mile speed and time. It ran a 13.19 at 106. And so the Mach 1 was very good for a naturally aspirated 4.6 liter car. It was the fastest of any naturally aspirated 4-valve 4.6 liter Mustang ever at that point. Yeah, the Terminator was out, it was supercharged. Yeah, you had the Cobra R, but it was a 5.4 liter. And so it was just cool. And so I'd be hanging out with my friends, and we'd be doing some racing. And I did most of the racing in the Bullet, and I've made a whole series about that. I think it's a really good one to go back and watch. If you haven't seen it, go watch the story about the Bullet, and there's a video about the 4.6 liter versus LS1 cars that I've made. I made 2 parts to that video. It's pretty cool. But the main point I'm making in this is that the Mach 1 was not my race car, the Bullet was. And so I let the Mach 1 continue to be a garage queen, even though it was the faster car and it was a 4-valve. I was racing the Bullet and having fun, doing my own thing, getting the car to go as fast as I could, not trying to be the fastest guy in town, but trying to do my own racing against myself and my own personal best times and everything. So here's a little clip, one of my favorites, of the Bullet racing an LS2 GTO from my video. And here's another time at the racetrack with the Bullet only headers and gears going up against an LS2 GTO. And I thought he was going to get me on this one, but call it driver's race, but this is real world experience of a 4.6 against an LS.
Nice. Can go against a GTO.
So in all that racing I did with the Bullet, one thing I learned quickly was that a good set of drag radials makes a big difference. A slower car can beat a faster car as long as you have traction, and the faster car doesn't. And I think that's something very important to consider. A lot of people don't think about the tires. They just go out there and race, and maybe they spin a little bit and they don't notice. I don't know how people don't realize this. But going to the track was pointless without a set of drag radials because the tires would spin on even a prepped track. And so as I got more into racing, I realized that a good set of drag radials is a huge advantage. And it's something that a lot of other people don't do because it costs money, and you have to either buy a set for your car and keep them on there and wear them out every 3,000 miles, or you can have what I did in this case, an extra set of Bullet wheels with the drag radials on there. And I was deciding whether I wanted to put these on the Mach 1 wheels or the Bullet wheels. Overall, the Bullet wheels were actually lighter, so I put them on there, and I had a great time with these Mickey Thompson drag radials. And so I would always use these on the Bullet, and then I'd take them off and I'd have them set aside so I wouldn't wear them down, and then I can take them down to the racetrack. I would actually take them in the Bullet to the racetrack and put them on there, so I wasn't putting hundreds of miles on them just driving to the track and back. And then I also had them readily available to put on the Mach 1 if I felt like taking the Mach 1 out and having a good time with it. And that did happen. Sometimes I just felt like doing it, and I wanted to put the drag radials on the Mach 1 and go win some races. So my younger brother has had several F-body cars, the LS1s and Corvettes. He's had probably 15 or more Camaros, Trans Ams, Corvettes, you know, all the good GM cars, and I like these a lot too, and we've had fun playing with them together and driving and stuff. But he had this really nice Z28 Camaro that had a cam. I think it had heads as well, headers, full exhaust, intake. It was a fast car. I think it dynoed at 380 or something like that. So definitely more power than a bolt-on Mach 1 would have. And he was always trying to get me to race. And we were like, all right, we'll go out there and, so what? I don't really care. It's a car that's more powerful and faster than my Mach, so I wasn't really interested in racing it because I knew that he had a huge advantage. But he still wanted to race me, even knowing that I had a disadvantage. But it made me upset enough to the point where I said, fine, I'm going to put on my drag radials, and we're going to go out, and I'm going to show you what I can do. Now, I wasn't expecting to be able to get him top end, but I thought I could outdrive him, which I'm pretty confident about because he didn't know I was putting the drag radials on and I was going to have a good launch. And, he didn't want to go against my brother's Whipple Cobra, but he wanted a shot at the Mach 1, even though he knew it was a disadvantage to me. But anyway, I went out, I put on the drag radials, and we went out and we got ready to go. And we met up and we found a nice little place down in Mexico, and we lined them up, and the car was really good with those drag radials, and here's the outcome.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Let's do a roll.
Let's do a dig right now.
Okay.
One more roll. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
So, did I win? Yeah, I kicked the crap out of him. Did he win? Yeah, he got me on a couple of them. I had a bad launch and I was spinning, and so that took away the advantage. And then he was able to get ahead of me. And yeah, he has a more powerful car. So there's nothing to be disappointed at there. You're looking at a bolt-on Mach 1. The engine's never been open. It doesn't have cams. It doesn't have anything done to it like his did. His had everything done to it. So that was pretty good for the Mach 1 and for the driver, if I don't say so myself. I probably should have just quit after the first race, after I got him from a dig, and then he didn't have a chance to make it up and it was over. But I gave him a few chances, and yeah, obviously the true colors showed of the higher horsepower car doing what it's supposed to do and getting ahead on the big end. But then one night we were out having some fun on the back roads, and my friends were saying that we're going to go line up a bunch of cars, and so I got the drag radials on the Mach 1, and I decided to go down and have some fun with it. And there were quite a few cool cars down there. This is a cool gas station picture. I went and got some gas so we could get down there and have some fun with the night. Had a friend with me, and there was an LT1 Z28 Camaro, and it was a nice car, 6-speed. And this guy really knew how to drive. He had a really nice LS2 GTO as well that was really fast. And so he was serious about racing. But anyway, we lined him up for fun, and this was the outcome. Mach 1.
Looks like Justin got him. Justin's got him again.
Alright, so I just spent hours getting this picture. I had it somewhere and I finally found it. This was the next race that night. Unfortunately, this Trans Am was totaled the next day. The guy was out drunk driving the next day after this race. So this would be the last race that this Trans Am would ever see. And it was against my Mach 1. So just to be clear, this didn't happen while we were racing. This was the next day by himself. He was out drinking and totaled this car. But it was an LS1 car, automatic, and he wanted to race me. And the thing that bothered me was we raced and you can see the outcome, and he told everybody that I lost the race, and you'll see that that wasn't true. And it bugged me because it was the last race of the night and then I left, and so he went back and told everyone there that I had lost the race. But here's that race. My friend's recording, so the camera car is the Mach 1. The car you see in the video is the Trans Am. He was disappearing. Watch those headlights disappear. So I like these cars a lot. I like the LS cars, and that's not really what this video is about. I have the whole video of my Bullet and my Mach 1s racing, and but I have friends, brothers. This is my brother's other Super Sport Camaro. He had so many of these cars, and so I like them. It's not about that, but it's just showing the Mach 1, and it was my garage queen, but I did take it out sometimes, and I had some fun with it, and I've won a handful of races, and I have it listed, all the races I've won in it. But I love the muscle car friends I have. We had a great time going out and playing around. But speaking of the drag radials, here's another picture. Another day I had put the drag radials on and I was enjoying the car that way. It might have even been after those back road races, and I came up on a new BMW, and I believe it was a turbo car. It was a two-door turbo BMW, and he wanted to race, and we went at the stoplight, and because I had the drag radials on, I hooked really good. You can see how meaty those tires are. I hooked really good, and I beat this guy, and it was a good race. And just to let you know how important those radials are, there was another BMW just like it, different color, and when I didn't have the radials on, and I had some street tires that were getting a little old, I raced him and it was the same thing, but as soon as I got to about 5,000 or 6,000 RPM, the tires broke loose and the car would slide sideways just a little bit and he would get ahead of me. And each race was the same. We were door to door, and then my tires would break loose at the top RPM towards the red line, and he'd just get ahead of me, and it made me really frustrated because I know I could have at least hung straight with him or gotten him, because I know I had beat this BMW at that time. And speaking of racing and running the car hard, I did feel bad because sometimes I felt like every time I took the Mach 1 out, I ran it through the gears pretty hard. On the other hand, that's what the car was made for, and I wasn't abusive to it in any way. And it wasn't until recently that I actually did the first donuts in that car, because I was doing that all in Bullet. But what I did next to make sure everything was safe is I put a wideband sensor on the car in just one of the extra O2 sensor holes from the off-road H-pipe that I had at the time. And so I'd switched mid-pipes around and here and there and stuff, but I wanted to see how the car was running. And the guy I bought the car from had said that there was a chip in the ECU, so technically the car had a tune on it, is what he said. I've never verified that, and he just kind of said that like, oh yeah, and there's a chip in the ECU. So I'm not sure if that's really true or not, but I wanted to make sure that it was running right. And so I borrowed a wideband from my friend, and this is the type you had to calibrate. So I had it calibrated, and then I ran it in the car, and of course at idle, driving around was in the 14s and stuff. And I think wide open throttle, it was in the 12s, and for a naturally aspirated car, that's fine. If it's under boost, then you want it in the 11s or low 11s to be safe. But naturally aspirated with no boost. It was right where it needed to be. So I was glad that I was able to test that out and make sure the car was running good. And I never really doubted it, but I just wanted to be sure and safe. So that was just a temporary gauge, and then I gave it back to my friend. I didn't have it mounted anywhere or anything. I just wanted to borrow it and see how the car was running. So if you zoom in on the mileage, you can see that the Mach 1 is now at 79,000. I had bought the car with 75, and so it was going up in mileage. You saw in the previous video it was at 7777 all the way across. And then this is keeping in time, because now I can see this is 80,000 miles when these pictures were taken, and it was around Christmas time, driving around, seeing the cool Christmas lights, just enjoying the Mach 1 at night. And I did drive it a lot in the night because of my work schedule, and on the weekends it was the best time. And this was one of my favorite pictures. I don't know why, but I like the way that the street light is shining off the matte black stripe on the hood. And I just remember taking the car out, going to get something to eat, it being late, and I was driving home, and it was quiet, and it was just me ripping around in the Mach 1 at night, and I saw the reflection, and it was so good in person, that reflection off the matte stripe on the hood coming through the windshield. It was just perfect. So I'd get up early, take the Mach 1 out, go for a nice drive. This is a place I like to go. It's where all the exhaust videos and stuff were taken earlier. And just wait till the sun rises and be there with the Mach 1 in the morning, enjoying the day, just loving being out and hearing the car. And it was a little cold, so you can see the exhaust, just the condensation, which was always important to me to have dual exhaust, because with a V6, before I got true duals on my V6, it only had that one dinky exhaust pipe on the driver's side, and so to have dual exhaust and see the condensation coming out like that just looked cool, like the hot exhaust coming out. And that was something I always liked about the V8s. And my brother and I got our driver's license in November, or we started driving in like November, September, and so it's when it was cold, and we would notice things like that. We would see Mustangs around town that were V8s, and you'd see them smoking out the tailpipes like that with the condensation or whatever. And so it was just kind of cool. So cool picture, reminds me of that. And I love taking the car to Walmart. I don't know why, I just love going there and having fun. A lot of times I'd park out here by the tire center where nobody was around, and this was a nice little Walmart nearby the house I grew up in. So oil changes, just taking good care of the car, making sure that I gave it everything that it deserved. I always did 530 full synthetic Mobil 1, and so changing the oil on a Saturday morning was kind of like the cool thing to do. I had my own house. It was one of those things I looked forward to one day, and I was able to do that. Nice oil change on a nice car. And I might as well tell you right now, one of the funny experiences that I'm reminded of when doing oil changes. And you know that my brother and I are pretty well known for doing our own maintenance on our cars. People ask us questions all the time, and we enjoy helping people, and that's how my brother started his YouTube channel. And I remember one time we were changing the oil up at the airport on, I think it was my V6 Mustang, and I spilled oil somewhere on the cement and inside the hangar. And my dad, who was a A&P certified mechanic and worked on jets in the Air Force, just big mechanic, he said probably the most hurtful thing he's ever said to me, and I joke about it because I just laugh about it now, but he said, maybe you should take that somewhere to get the oil changed. Oh my gosh, that was like the most hurtful thing he could say to me, because I felt like I had failed. But anyway, I got good. I got to the point where I could change the oil without spilling anything. And if you've seen the latest videos of my yellow Mach 1, I use a moldable cutting board that I stuff up there, just a thin sheet of plastic, so that the oil filter doesn't drip all over the K-member and stuff. So I've gotten better at it, and that's all that matters, right? If you just get better at things as you grow older and learn. So I'll close the video out here with some pictures of the Mach 1 at another Walmart that's farther away that I like to drive to. It was a new Walmart. It wasn't as busy, so it was always fun to go out there and not worry about the car getting door dinged or anything. Go out and get a snack, some treats and stuff. But anyway, that concludes this part of the Mach 1's history. Still more to come, so stay tuned for the continuation of the Azure Blue Mach 1 story. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and stay tuned for more Mustang content.